Okay, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Round the Table with Authors of the Resistance. Unfortunately, Bev is not going to make it for tonight's recording, but believe you me, Kendra and I have a ton to talk about. And tonight's topic is one that is the most pressing and honestly the most dire in the United States tonight, which is sad to say it, but welcome to American Fascism. Tonight, we are going to start the introduction, I guess, with the most poignant thing I feel we could address. First and foremost, Abrego Garcia's wife had to go into hiding and was placed basically into a protected equivalent of witness protection house, a safe house tonight, because of what the administration has allowed to be presented to the public and doxing her and her child. This, meanwhile, at the same time, the latest update for those of you who follow our direct actions is that Abrego Garcia was moved from second to another facility, which is rumored to honestly be more dangerous than where he was originally at. So it might not have been the greatest of moves. And secondarily to that, there are two different immigrants who have been displaced by the Trump administration. And this comes after this administration had dared to argue before the Supreme Court that they do not have the ability to give every person that they are unlawfully detaining a fair trial, which is unconstitutional and absolutely ludicrous because without due process, we are not the country our founders created by any means whatsoever. Um, all of these intersecting issues are definitely something that we feel everybody, not just in the United States, but across the world, needs to be aware of as it pertains to being an immigrant and traveling to our country. And as an American, with somebody, you know, out there in the international world I care about, like most of us probably have, I would hate to
Mhm.
have one of my friends come here and experience some of the things that I'm seeing, such as what happened in Hawaii and two young women from Germany being accosted because they apparently didn't properly plan their hotel accommodations. And so we have a lot of crazy things happening. And that brings me to the next point, which is what is being said about the registry for those with autism. Um,
Ugh,
uh, where
yeah.
would you like to head in from that, Kendra?
Oh my gosh. No, when I first heard about that, I literally, excuse my French, almost shit, right? Like, what does this remind you of?
I mean,
Like, come on.
personally, I the first thing that I said about it was okay, so we're basically going to be warehoused all in an asylum because they're gonna try to register autistics, which is the same kind of mentality that they had with eugenics in World War II. That's what it
Mm-hmm.
sounds like. like,
Yes.
and then they're gonna institutionalize people like they used to do in the United States and still do in some cases. I mean, look at what happened to Britney Spears. She wasn't fully
Yeah.
institutionalized, but she had her autonomy taken away. And I mean, they did send her to rehab a couple of different times, and who knows how many of those times were voluntarily or she was just forced to. And if you read her book and everything, you already know the answers to this. Um, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, they are. I was making a joke with Kerrigan Byrne earlier because she made a video on TikTok about this very topic, and I said that's where I said the first comment was, well, you know what they're going to do? They're going to go and they're going to get everybody who's autistic, all the ADHD and the mental health, and they're going to put them in an asylum, and we're going to be like, girl interrupted.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? That is one of my like top 10 movies, but I don't want to live it
You know
at
what I'm
all.
saying? It is a great film, but it's a lesson, it's a story of a lesson of an experience that none of us want to bring back into fruition. The whole point of it was to bring awareness, and this was also an author, so think about that. Um
Right.
like people who have mental health issues don't all need to be locked away in a straitjacket. Like that's not okay.
No. And I don't know where they think it would be a good idea for all of us neurodivergents to be locked away in one place together, with no medication,
I
right?
mean, and then this whole push to they want to have all the people, the babies, the babies, the babies, and this is happening at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, and I'm like, this is a playbook of everything that happened during World War II, and it's really important. Today is actually Holocaust Remembrance Day, so um, it's really important that we actually think about what the entirety of the Holocaust and remembering it really entails. Because as much as it is about the persecution of Jewish people, because that was who Hitler hated the most, it was not just about them. They were called the
Mm-hmm.
undesirables, literally, not desired. And this fell upon a bunch of different types of people, and they were all the most they were vulnerable, the most vulnerable, and people that were disabled. And I don't just mean mentally ill disabled, like they're trying to label so many other people. I mean, like, honestly disabled in wheelchairs, and I mean that's a
Mm-hmm.
disability too, but I mean like physically disabled in a way that you could see it, that
Right.
these, you could absolutely no doubt know that these were people that were the most vulnerable and needed the most help. The people that were able to kind of blend in, neurodivergent people, because they've always existed, and kind of be chameleons to try to figure out how to mask. For a while they got through, but then eventually it came for them too, and that's what's going to happen.
Right. It's going to be the database, then the asylums, and then next thing you know, we're all going to be wearing patches on our jackets.
We're not going to be allowed to go anywhere. I
That's
mean,
where it's
even the
headed.
Real ID Act, that we have to get this new ID on our driver's license in order to travel by air with a specific start. That's the thing. It has a specific star in every that
Mm-hmm.
represents the Real ID. That alone made me go, "What the fuck is this?" And that was the most, excuse my language, honest quote, because the first thing that went through my mind is they're going to make us show our papers everywhere, even if we are a citizen. And you know what? We're supposed to be able to, by the Fourth Amendment, be free in our persons and our effects. That is harassment and prevention of travel, which we are supposed to be able to freely do.
Right.
It's like we won't be able to do anything. We won't be able to go anywhere. And this is already happening even with Americans that have went to the Canadian border. We have had Americans now detained and harassed for hours, or people that are here, like I said in the last one, our last podcast, that are here legally, are having their visas revoked and are being booted out with no due process and no real explanation for why.
Right. And the visas are for valid reasons. School, work, you name it. They're just pulling it out from under them and then being like, "Oh, sorry, by the well, not sorry, not sorry." The I don't know what else to say about that. The whole thing just has me completely floored, and I was telling my husband the other day, I really get tired of waking up every day, and then every time I look at my phone or look at anything at all media related, it's breaking news, breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. exhausting, but I know that's what they're counting on.
Well, yeah, because I mean, even if you go back through, and that's what gets me the most. This is what gets me the most. How many of them still agree to do that, and how many of them are laughing at us saying, "What about due process?" Oh, blah blah blah. Due process applies to everybody, bro. This isn't just about me. That's the thing that's getting me the most. Like that they're laughing at the fact and they're shitting all over it, and I'm like, what? He said he was going to be a dictator. Y'all didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's being a dictator, and he said he was going to use shock and awe, and he's doing it. And y'all still don't care. Do you really? And it's left me going, okay, so 1/3 of these people that voted for this actually really do hate the other 2/3 of Americans. They
Oh, for
really do.
sure.
There's no getting
Mm-hmm.
past it. And the rest of, I don't even know, maybe what percentage I could find in that 1/3 that actually were maybe just stupid and were really just, I don't know, they had cotton in their ears or something. They just didn't want to accept it. They thought we were all conspiracy theorists. Even though these things, you present them with evidence. I mean, it's the most narcissistic cult ever. Like, you present them
You
with
could send
all
them
the
the
evidence.
video.
This is what your guy said, bro. This is him. Literally, let me shut up and let him talk. This is what he said.
Yeah.
And I'm the one that's the lunatic. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we were called, what, paranoid for the last 8 years. And they were warned over and over and over and over again. I even have family that was like, no, I don't think so. I don't think that's
Oh,
gonna happen.
oh,
No,
it breaks my heart.
no, it's not as bad as you think it's gonna be, and then it's worse than I thought it was gonna be.
Oh yeah, and so it totally breaks my heart because I'm gonna go. This is a little bit personal here, but I don't care. I'm just gonna go. Hopefully they actually hear it. I'm gonna say it. I have a sister who I love more than anything, and last summer I went to go visit her. I thought me and her were reconnecting, and our sisterly bond was gonna be on point. And my sister, honestly, is a great, amazing person, but she's a Trump supporter. And the moment that she voted for
Oh,
him, I was like, you know what? I hate to tell you this, but I don't think we can be close anymore. And I got blocked on everything. With the last conversation that we actually exchanged words, she said to me, I think we can all get along. And I said, no, we can't. She goes, it's just a different politics. And I said, this isn't even about politics anymore. I don't care that you're a Republican or you're a conservative and never have. Because the fact of the matter is, I'm an independent and all I really care about is the bottom basic line. If you want me to be the most honest, I'm probably a constitutionalist because I'm about the Constitution. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
that's what I'm about. That is the basis. And we are the one country in the world that instead of our military swearing fealty to the leader, they swear fealty to a document that they are supposed to defend from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And my grandfather, I know yours as well, served in World War II, won medals saving people, and he killed Nazis. So, no, I'm not going to just take this. And I told her that. I was like, he's a Nazi. She goes, he's not. And I was like, yeah, he is. And
He
if
is.
he is, it's not a question. And then I said, if you voted for him, that makes you one too. Do you understand in history? It doesn't matter if you like it or not. If you do the thing, and now is the opportunity for the people that have done this to hear this message. You can be an Oscar Schindler right now. You can change your mind. You can literally change your
Absolutely.
mind and you can do something to change history. You don't have to keep that label. You can reject it now. And if you reject it while there's still time, you can be part of the resistance that stops this bullshit from happening. Because the bottom line is, it's not just about illegal immigrants. It's not just about autistic and ADHD people. They're going to come for everybody who doesn't fit their counterbalance. And part of the reason why they're going after all of our institutions and our programs is to offset the people so that the people will go homeless, so that the people will be starving, so that the people will not have what they need, and they will use those things to persecute and arrest you. That is what they will do. They will do everything to undertake the carpet from under you and therefore put you in a position where you have become a criminal even when you have done nothing wrong. And that is why homelessness is being criminalized right now. And if you lose all of the braces that keep you intact, everything, and disasters happen, and everything that's happened in North Carolina from the Hurricane Helene, you look at all of these
Mm-hmm.
different things, all of those people, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you had insurance, it doesn't matter If you think you got everything lined up, they're going to take it all away, and then you will have nothing. And then they're going to do things like eminent domain, and then guess what? You're just a human resource, and these people are the type of people who will put you into a gulag and expect you to do work camp because you owe a penance. That's what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
And that's why I say it breaks my heart that my sister said that and then was out there celebrating that he won wearing a Daddy's Home t shirt, all bright and smiley. And
Ugh.
I was like, do you realize what you just done? And the moment that I say this guy's Hitler, people are like, no, he's not. And I'm like, well, actually, you know what? Let me back up. You really want me to go into what he is? Because I can tell you the reality is this is a man that has literally researched his almost entire 80 years about dictators who has idealized and romanticized every last terrible person in the history of our world. And the two that he admires the
Right.
most are Adolf Hitler and Benito Mussolini. And the irony is, those two people worked together at once and also hated each other at once, too. And guess what? Elon and Donald hated each other at once, and now they're working together. Welcome to an oligarchy.
Right. And I mean, like, don't forget the fact either that with the, was it the Marine Library, if I'm not mistaken, they were removing DEI. So DEI included Maya Angelou, but they were leaving 2 copies of Mein Kampf behind.
Yes, they took off all of the
Come
books that
on.
they considered to be anti-racist. How to Be Anti-Racist by Ibram. I can't remember her last name, but that was a really big book, and it was teaching people, the tools on how to deal with not just not being racist, but literally being anti-racist and standing up to go, no, these things cannot be tolerated in any format. They took off that book, but they kept Mein Kampf and they kept several other very questionable works. And I don't believe in censorship or that even that Mein Kampf necessarily should be banned from all libraries, but it is a book that I have chosen not to read because I already know the context of what the author was about and how everything that he evidenced through his character and did that left who he is through history. I don't need to read that. But I do understand that people need to be able to look at history and see the documents so that they can accredit the proper reasoning and rationale behind why this isn't good. You see what I'm saying? And it's
Yeah.
basically, Mein Kampf is honestly a psychoanalysis of himself. I mean, everything he writes there, if you go and you look at it, it's a manifesto. So it lets you know exactly what his character was about, and it's not a good thing, and that's enough for me to know. But I shouldn't be able to tell somebody else what they can and cannot read. And that brings me, to the next kind of point. Um, that we all know about the book bans in like Florida. Well, Florida now has this new law against nicknames and preferred names. And I was talking to a colleague about this earlier, and I was just like, I mean, someone should take a mirror to Ron DeSantis and ask him why it's okay for him to go by Ron when his name is really Ronald Dion.
Yeah.
Like, what's the deal here? And you're gonna arrest teachers for using some. I mean, seriously? It's on employment applications where they ask you what your preferred name is. And even that isn't even a gender specific issue or even a trans specific issue because what about William who goes by Bill? You know what I mean? Like, or Samantha who goes by Sam, or Katie
Hmm.
who's actually Catherine. I mean, really, the nicknames and short names and preferred names have been being used in educational and employment settings forever. I mean, not everybody
Hmm.
wants to be called Brunhilde. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. And I, even where I work, like, they're very big on DEI, very big. They don't plan on changing that. They're actually doubling down on it. But like you'll have people that have one name and then they don't want to go by that at all. Period. Not even a shortened version. They go by something else. And that is how they are addressed by their supervisors, all that stuff. And that's how they're addressed by the customers that we talk to on a daily basis. So yeah, it's not anything new. So like this teacher being fired for using the student's preferred name is just mind blowing to me in every aspect of it. Um, I, I know,
Yeah.
like I'm just running out of things to say about any of this at this point because my brain is just turning to mush, and I'm enraged by it, but the words just aren't there to express it, right?
Well,
Like
it's because they're doing a barrage of shock and awe, and it's a very,
exactly.
and that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to make you so angry and come from so many different assaults while so many things are happening. And I know another one that's a big one, like I was saying, that coincides with this whole thing about them trying to push for women to have more children. Hello,
Mm-hmm.
we have a rising economy. We can barely afford housing. Y'all want to take away things like housing support. You want to take away food stamps. You want to take away women,
Yep.
infants, and children, so there's no WIC to help with that. And formula and diapers are expensive, y'all. Expensive.
Yeah.
Like, babies are very expensive. So
And they want to offer $5,000
that's not even enough.
and a
I mean,
medal.
like,
Can
have
I
you
trade
looked?
the medal for like a year's worth of formula? I mean,
Have
come
you
on.
read how much it costs to just to deliver a baby? Just the delivery. Let's not include all the other prenatal care that they're gonna need and everything else
Yep.
postnatal care. That the just the delivery is hundreds of thousands of dollars now. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, and if even if you have an absolute, you use no pain medication, the most basic natural childbirth that you have, you're going to be looking at a couple $1,000s, like basically more than $5,000.
And you're looking at least a 3-day stay in the hospital afterward. I don't know too many people that stay less.
So these are
So,
these are all things that make me go, okay, well, at the meantime, he said that they were going to abolish the Department of Education, but now this week the Department of Education has said, we're coming after all of you who have student loans, and everybody's getting referred to collection while they simultaneously cut back every single payment repayment plan.
yeah.
And you want people to have more babies? Oh, what you're actually saying, Trump administration, is that you don't want anybody to be able to go to school. You want them just to be barefoot and pregnant and putting out however many babies that you deem that they need to be putting out. But those need to be babies that are only of a certain caliber of person because you want to get rid of birthright citizenship. And that's another one. Where does citizenship start then? Who is actually a citizen?
The indigenous.
Yeah, but he already said no, that actually he's trying to argue in court with that because of the fact that they have their own sovereignty and they have their own nations and they have their own forms of semi-government that are within those own nations, which was part of the treaty, that makes them a separate country. And so they're actually not citizens of the United
Oh,
States.
good Lord. I can't with this guy. I hadn't heard that one yet. So that,
I know, isn't that one crazy? That one made me go. And I heard that one through, my friends in the Native American Activist Network, letting me know about it. And I read it and I was like, are you kidding me? And my one friend was like, I'm a card carrying member of the Lakota Nation and I still am an American. Come and tell me I'm not. You know what I mean?
right. Oh my God.
It's
No,
just,
I'll admit, like my family came over here like on boats. I mean, like, come on. I'm perfectly fine with going to Scotland. That's cool with me, but I mean, I
but
would gladly hand the land back to the indigenous. That's fine with me because my family didn't originate here. Period. Full stop. So birthright citizenship, yeah. Where does it actually begin then if we go by their logic?
it only goes by whomever Donald Trump decides his family name is accepted. That's pretty much my gathering.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, right.
but it's like first they came for the Latinos, then they came for the legal immigrants, then they came for the autistics, and I spoke out. And when they come for ADHD and the mental health, I'm also going to speak out. But when they
Yep.
come for the homegrowns, I'm going to step out of line because I'm not having them deport me to El Salvador to go to a country I've never been to, even though I do speak Spanish. Um, and tell me, like, so that's the thing. They are literally what they're doing is abduction and human trafficking. They are
Oh, agreed.
they're wearing masks, they're unidentifiable. There's no way to know for sure that the people that are actually doing this are officials. And they're just picking people up off the street and disappearing them, putting them on aircraft and flying them out of the country with no due process. That's literally human trafficking.
That's human trafficking. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's the literal definition.
And it's not that, see, because if they were properly deporting them, they wouldn't just be gathering up people from Venezuela and Honduras and wherever and sending them to El Salvador. They're not, they're expatriated. They need to be going back to their countries. Instead, there was a report that came out where they sent an airplane with the women, which is another thing people have not been
Mm-hmm.
talking about, the women and the children that much, and that's really important. The women that were on that aircraft came back and told them that the guards on the plane, when they looked out the windows, that they could tell that it wasn't Caracas, Venezuela. And they asked them, they said,
Right.
"Where are we? This isn't Venezuela." And they figured out it was El Salvador. And the guards told them that they weren't allowed to look out the windows. And then when they got
Yeah.
there, they tried to put the women in, and Seco said, "We don't take female prisoners. You're going to have to take them back." Then they took them back, and then the women came back after that, and they were brought back down to a facility. I think the one down in Texas, because they're keeping them in Chrome and also Louisiana over there in Basile. Those are the main ones, and then there's the one in Texas, which I forget the name of it, but those are
Mm-hmm.
the three top ones that they've been keeping them in. So they went back there and they, told everybody what they saw and experienced, and these were Venezuelan women. And then the kids, like they had, there was a report where like an 11-year-old kid was going to get on the bus. It was a Hispanic child, and ICE rolled up and picked up this kid and put him in zip ties and into the patrol car, and just took off with the kid. Um, they had a 4-year-old child. They're making little tiny toddlers have to go before immigration judges with no lawyer, all by themselves, at the same time firing some of the immigration lawyers.
Right. And I saw a video. I can't remember who exactly was showing it, but it's this video of this little boy who looks maybe 5, maybe, and my son's about to turn 4 in June, and like I just sat there and saw this little kid. They had him sit at the table, in the courtroom, and they had this little headset on him so he could get the translations and stuff. I was like, I cannot imagine my little boy sitting in a courtroom by himself, having to somehow defend himself for something he doesn't understand. And
Yeah,
it breaks my heart.
it makes me so mad. It's like I really do see this little tiny innocent child and this giant huge monster that's just laughing sadistically, and it just makes me so angry. It just, every bit of the mother in me just wants to go, "Oh my god," and rip them apart. And I just, it makes me so angry how complacent this society is being right now. And I mean, I've seen that in so many things, like the woman in Idaho at the town hall who was there for the purpose of, speaking her First Amendment right that was carted out by those unidentifiable thugs, which now they've been charged,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a justice that's been made right, because they did that. But what infuriates me the most, Kendra, is the fact that all those people sat there and some of them recorded it, and not one person stood up and said, "What the hell is this unconstitutional bullshit?"
Yeah.
How dare you?
But
Where
we're
are the
seeing
real cops? Until I see some real badges and some badge numbers, get your fucking hands off of her.
right, and right now we're seeing a ton of that bystander effect thing going on. Like nobody wants to do anything when they see something that's happening that they know is not right, and they just sit there. And I understand it on a psychological level. I took psych. I've got 2 degrees in it. I get it. I understand it. But at the same time, as a human being, I'm sitting there. I'm like, why aren't you doing something? Because if I could be there right now and do it, I would do it. So why aren't you? And I'm holding people up to the same standard that I have for myself as,
I
like someone
know.
who
And
would
while
rightly
everyone
defend
is not
somebody.
the same, the fact that there are so many
Yeah.
that are silent, there's got to be more out there that y'all got to stop being silent before you are the ones that are getting stuffed in the damn hole. Like, that's the point of
Or
all
on a
of this.
plane taken to a foreign country where you don't belong.
Even if it's not you, eventually with everything happening, it's going to touch your life. It's going to touch your life, and it's going to hurt when it does. Somehow, it's going to happen. On the timeline, I can't predict where, but to every person, what is happening in this country eventually will come and it will touch your life in a negative way, and it will hurt when it does. And you are going to learn at that point, because life will give you no choice but to learn. And the thing is, I really truly hate that it has to be that way, because if people would finally hear the message, they can avoid that and possibly avoid having to lose loved ones. Because there are people in our country right now that don't know where their loved ones are.
Yeah.
And this isn't North Korea or Russia. This is not American. That's the bottom line. The bottom line is this
No,
is
the
anti.
founders are rolling in their graves right now, I'm telling you.
When you started burning up the Constitution, and you tell me, you laugh at me and others like me, going, wait a minute, due process is a must, it's not a suggestion. We are in a bad situation. And basically, I guess now is a good point to break in to start talking about some of the ways that you've been spending your time to kind of offset the negativity, and a Kendra's green thumb moment, if you will.
Wow. So I mean, I don't have a ton to talk about this time just because it's been exhausting. And like I was telling you before, I had been thinking about this all day. Like, what was I going to talk about? And I had mentioned, like, well, me and my son started some seeds on Sunday and we already have some flower sprouts popping up, which is great, but that's not, enough to talk about for a little while. So I was thinking about it and I was like, okay, well, I did, you know, the bucket garden last time. And this time, I guess I'll go to the next graduation of where I kind of like graduated to the raised bed. So raised beds can be expensive, but if you're trying to live sustainably, it's not always a really great option unless you can find some ways to save some money somewhere. So one thing that I have done, my first raised bed was huge. It was expensive, and I know that. I can't say how much I spent on soil to put in there because I just wanted soil in there. I didn't put anything else in there. I actually used actual wood that I went and purchased from Home Depot. So I spent a lot of time sowing rosemary seeds in there. When I figured out the germination rate was only 30%, I said, screw this, and moved on. But now, in the interest of thinking a little bit more sustainably, trying to figure out different ways to save money on it, one thing I did buy is a metal raised bed. It lasts. I've had this one for 2 years now. It's showing no signs of giving up, which is great because my rosemary is in it. And one lonely carrot that is somehow growing. The seed survived the winter. I don't know how it happened, but I've got one carrot in there too. Um, Metal is great. It can last you a long time. It could be a little on the expensive side to start, but I did find one on Amazon. I think the one I have was maybe around $30, and it's not a bad size. It's like 4x2. So you can actually grow a decent amount in there. And then other options for building a raised bed initially. Another thing that I did was if you can find a place that is giving away pallets, like the pallets that they ship things on and stuff like that, those are a great resource too, because you can just break pieces off and build a raised bed out of that. So if you don't have like great soil quality and stuff, like the raised bed is definitely going to be a thing that you're going to want to do. But they can be expensive to fill because you're not planting stuff directly in the ground. So what's always been suggested with the raised beds, and I've seen this a lot over the last few years, people getting creative with things to put in there, so you're not just having the compost, but you're having stuff in the bottom of it to continuously feed those nutrients and decompose to become more compost. It's been really eye-opening for me, because I didn't realize these were things that were great to put in there. So one way to block weeds and grass from growing up through your raised bed is cardboard. If you've got leftover boxes or anything like that, that works perfect. I have it in mine. It's laid down in the bottom. It's worked great. I have raised beds all over the place. I have not a single weed in them, which is wonderful because I hate pulling weeds. Um, my son would probably like it, but I can't stand it. Um, Another thing that people are doing is if you've got sticks, pieces of trees, stuff like that, kind of around. I know my house is surrounded by a bunch of trees, so we usually have sticks and stuff like that. We even have like part of a tree that kind of broke off during a windstorm, still in our front yard. You can lay that in your bottom, and it's continuously breaking down and feeding more nutrition into whatever soil or compost you're putting in your raised bed. And then you can put a layer of leaves, make sure to get the leaves wet. It really helps to break them down more. You can put, oh gosh, you can put all manner of things in there. Some people will take their food scraps and put it in there with the actual compost and the soil and stuff when they start layering that on there. So very cheap ways to fill it. Dried leaves, especially if, we're just coming out of fall and spring stuff, they're everywhere, right? Don't rake your yard. Don't rake. I am I'm an advocate for not raking. Um, there are a lot of different things that survive in those fallen leaves that reemerge during the spring. So we don't rake. But at some point, to fill your raised bed, it's a good idea to go gather some of them up and you can put them in there and it helps. And it's just like with the wood, it's going to decompose some more, add some more nutrition to your soil continuously over time as it breaks down. So, always a good idea. Trying to think of anything else. Those are
Yeah.
the main things that I saw that you can put in there to try and save some money. Some tools that I've seen people use to try and save some money building the raised beds. As far as whatever plants you choose to put in them, completely up to you, but companion planting is your friend. You want to make sure that you've got plenty of things in there that work with what you have in your garden bed and then also are good for pest control, because if you're trying to stay organic like me, you don't want to put a bunch of sprays and stuff like that all over your fruits and vegetables and things that you're trying to go that you're actually going to consume, because Lord knows what that's doing to everybody. And the sprays are expensive. It's just cheaper to go plant some flowers. And some of them will come back every year depending on what you plant. So,
Yeah, there's also like all of those are great ideas, and I thought of some things when you were talking. Like, if you didn't already know, for those of you who are on food stamps, it will cover seeds. That's
yes.
important to know. And also,
And fruit trees.
yes, and also if you don't have food stamps per se, you can take certain types of vegetable and fruit scraps and you can use those to grow new growths. So, And there's ways you can like look on TikTok to learn how to do that. And I'm sure Kinder could probably come on later and tell us some ideas on how to do things like that so that you can take advantage of the produce that you already get to grow more. And that's like, that's how you regenerate, right? Keep moving. And I
Yeah.
also totally agree. That's native wisdom, is, like the sister plants like beans and corn and things like that. Grow them together and they will be more sustainable. They'll be sturdier, they'll grow better, and they're more likely to come back. And also, if you allow the land to have that time, because all the seasons work out for a reason, and that geothermal layer that goes over the ground, that the disintegrating leaves, which are becoming compost, does, it actually keeps them from dying. And there's all these different things
Hmm.
that work science and biochemically to keep plants alive so that they will return. And the idea is to get something going so you can have a victory garden that sustains itself more than anything, and getting that going off of what you have available and what you can actually resource around you to continue to
Hmm.
replenish itself is key in that.
And some of these things too, like especially some cold weather crop like lettuce, spinach, stuff like that, they really don't take long for you to be able to start harvesting. Like we're talking, I think radishes, if they grow properly. What was the last one I saw? It was like maybe 30 days
Yeah.
before you've got radishes. So like, I mean, there are plenty of things that you can grow that are,
Microgreens.
and succession planting is really important too, just making sure you have a continuous line of things that are maturing so you can keep harvesting. um
Right.
and I mean, hoop houses over your raised beds too are also a great idea, because then during the winter, if you've got stuff that needs to stay warmer, it's going to stay warmer because it's going to generate its own heat. So it's always a good idea to have that. You can continue all year.
Yep. 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 That's all awesome. So, um, shifting gears a little bit here, I am going to talk about um, part of the whole what I've been doing for protesting and teaching y'all about ways to protect yourself and basically be a decent protester, right? So,
Hmm.
when I was doing protest season in 2020, there were a number of violent responses to peaceful protesting. And I say that because it's really important. Um, People that were not doing anything wrong, there were a number of media persons who actually filed lawsuits against the police department and the city because of the way things were handled. And this was during the Trump administration, obviously, first time around. And I seen them deploy Academy, Blackwater, Mercs. I seen them give media persons no time to get their teams together and their gear and everything to safely be able to vacate when they were told to vacate. I seen a lot of things that I'll never be able to forget. But that leads me to talking about today. We're going to talk about what kind of things to wear if you're protesting. Now, please keep in mind that I will talk about block. And why will I talk about block? Because depending on what you are doing, you may not want your identity to be known, especially when there are other people that are in the crowd who don't want their identity known, who are abducting people off the street. So keep that in mind on how people might perceive you if you choose to go and block. And whatever your reasons are, that's neither here nor there for me to decide. But there's this new thing I seen that is a full face sunglass lens. And I thought, that thing might be cool for people that want to go and block. Because it's like, it almost looks like robotic, like the face. And I should probably grab a picture of that and put it in here. but let you guys
Yeah.
see it. It's really cool. Um, but basic block is you're gonna want to wear long sleeves, okay? Like even if you don't go in block, please bring something that could be considered long sleeves. I know a lot of people are thinking, but Sai, it's about to be hot out here and we're gonna be protesting. Listen to me. If you want to not get hit by a rubber bullet, or you don't want to get burned by a flash grenade, or chemical burnt, I mean, burnt by the actual thing hitting you from the metal or the chemical burn, you're going to want to be covered. So you're going to want to wear everything all black if you're going in block. And that would be some kind of like full pants. I would encourage denim. Um, Tennis shoes that are both comfortable and they fit your feet well because you might need to run. And when I say you might need to run, I mean you might need to run for a while. You may think, what are you talking about? All we're doing is protesting. Yeah, until the freaking barricades come down and here comes the brute force after you telling you need to get over that road right there and you got 8 seconds to do it because if I get to you before you get there, you going down. You are going to have to run. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I know because I've been there. I seen it. And I had to run for several blocks and then call a friend to come and get me. And it was not something I expected because it was a peaceful protest until it wasn't. And the people that started it being non peaceful were not the protesters, which is something they don't want people to know. They want everyone to think the instigators are in that crowd, which I'm not going to say that sometimes they aren't. But the times that I seen this happen, it was the police, and that is the reason why lawsuits happen. So, okay. Because many people have been grievously injured in the past in the United States, and Eugene was where I was at, and Portland also was sadly two of them. It's important to recognize that personal safety of yourself, including those of your immediate protesting group and those around you, which is meaning those protesters right around you, should be your number one priority. Stay close knit, together, and being solid is imperative. This is how you form human chains and things like that, and you can protect people from getting beat down or falling down and getting trampled. All of things of which the police like to try to instigate when they're disorienting people so that they can grab them in their vulnerability. Um, so, vigilance and awareness are very important when protesting and dealing with police involvement. Uh, the public may not look upon you favorably either, even though you're accessing your constitutional rights. So, you have to be aware that not only do you have to worry about the police, but you might have to worry about somebody who doesn't like you over here, who is maybe on the other side and is a Trump supporter and wants to hurt you. And they are out there, and I have seen them. So I have engaged words with one who called me a whore for being out there. And I was a media person, and I looked him straight in the face, and I said, "You don't know anything about me or whether or not I'm even a virgin or not. How can you say I'm a whore?" He just shut up. But okay, wear clothing that is not identifiable. So even if you are going out in block and it's all black colors, you want to use attire that, I mean, if you do want to use attire that's making a political statement, by all means do so. But do remember that anything that you wear that people can go is very unique is going to make you stand out, and that could be a way to harm you later individually. And I mean later, like months later, like way after you protested, somebody sees you wearing that hat again and they didn't like it when you did it that time around, so they decide to hurt you. These kind of things happen. You have to be very aware of that. That's why it's best to be anonymous. Stay uniform with your protesting group. Wear layers because they will help protect you from impeding objects like rubber bullets. Cover as much of your skin as possible to protect from both the elements around you and possible harm from outside influences. Cover and put up your hair. Make sure any tattoos and special identifiable jewelry is not being able to be seen. Wearing jewelry is also not recommended during a protest because, again, that's a personal choice, but remember, it can put you in danger in and of itself. Earrings can get caught when you're running, things can get torn out of ears, other places. You see where I'm going with this. Um, Again, back to that wear good shoes. Shoes that are comfortable but practical. Do not wear high heels, open toe shoes, sandals, flip flops, anything that makes your feet vulnerable. Wear shoes that you would wear while hiking that fit your feet. snugly but won't friction and cause you blistering. Also, wear breathable socks and be sure you can confidently run in the shoes you are in. You never know when you might find yourself in need of a sudden, brisk sprint. In case of emergency, have 3 people on your in case of emergency list who can be made available to help you should something happen. Have your local Bell support line number in hand as well in case you need it because you don't know if you're going to get picked up. It's wise to have emergency contacts who are not going to be at the protest as well as some that also are. So if you don't know anybody in your local area at grassroots, start joining with some communities so you can learn and you can know people, make a couple of friends because you never know who you're going to need, and be a good ally because you never know who's at a protest who doesn't have anybody else there and needs you to be that friend. And that's what we're all supposed to be united to do, is to protect, elevate, and keep each other tight knit and protected because we are a unified force against something bad that wants to harm us all. So um, make sure that you cover that and you have those bases covered. If you do bring electronics, remember that they are trackable now. So you might, if you're going to be recording things, or I don't know what kind of behaviors you're going to engage in, it's not my place to protest police. If you're going to do anything that you know might get you in trouble, remember that that device and all the content on it can be used against you. It's just like a Miranda right at this point. So anything you have on you can be used against you. It can also be used in your defense, but like that's why a lot of people use burner phones. That's just another thing to keep in mind. Hats or glasses are highly recommended, but not that you wear regular glasses. So if you have prescription glasses, wear them. However, if you wear contact lenses, do not wear those for a protest because gas can get behind it from tear gas, and that's bad. It's actually best if you can wear sunglasses or something like that, even over your prescription glasses, which will help protect your eye gear and your eyes, right? So it's in your
Mm-hmm.
best interest to try to protect your eyes as much as possible because tear gas deployed by the police department is designed to make you tear up and cry, hence its name, and not be able to see and breathe. So you want to do everything you can to protect your eyes. Face masks. Um, Back then we were under corona, so a lot of people were doing it anyway, but this is something that's really good to have just to protect yourself from that tear gas. Again, if you can get a gas mask, even better. um, and identifiability, so like it just protects you. It's a good idea and it keeps germs away, and so yeah, those are something that I would recommend having with you. When it comes down to like just some base information for protection, have a rendezvous locale or a point of meeting in the event you should get separated from your protesting party. Have a designated spot that you're going to meet up whenever the protest ends, and do not leave it until all the members of your party have checked in at the meeting point and everybody knows where everybody is and everybody's safe, just in case somebody gets detained. You never know when it can happen. If you choose to bring your phone, again, be aware taking pictures of other protesters' faces and things like that help add to data footprint, and a lot of people will get upset about that. That can cause altercation. So do not record anybody else. Understand that while you're working in protests, sometimes people will come across, but if somebody, you want to try to not focus on the protesters, you want to focus on like the police and whatever is in front of them. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
um and also sometimes at the behind too, because they come up behind. So basically you want to be directing your media attention not so much on the protesters as much as whatever's in front of them, and and kind of like even in the midst of the crowd, like kind of want to keep it behind people's heads or focused on like higher up where you can see the signs and stuff like that, if that makes sense.
Right.
um and that's just basic phone safety. As far as weapons, alarms, and personal defense, I will not endorse the use of any weapon carrying during a protest, but I know not everyone feels that way. It is not smart to go out with a huge machine gun in a crowd of people. It's gonna bring attention, and it ain't gonna be good intention, no matter what your intentions are. Just putting that out there. I am a 2A supporter, but responsible ownership and behavior I do feel is important, so I'm stressing that ahead of time. If you do choose to bring any weapons to a peaceful protest, there is a high chance that you may be apprehended for doing so. Understand that you are responsible for knowing the laws regarding unlawful possession of a weapon and its use in your locale. So, that being said, in my state, people are legally allowed to open carry a weapon, but with recent events concerning weapons and protesting, I feel it's best advice to leave them at home. Pepper spray and mace, personal body shrieking alarms, and items that encourage flight response are preferred for peaceful protesting should you feel the need to bring any defense items at all. And that is what I got for our protesting protection. And basically, as we come into finalizing, the last thing I really, I mean, there's always something, so it's like it's kind of hard to say the last thing I really want to touch on is, because you're going to turn around 5 minutes from now and another thing's going to be falling out of the sky with this administration.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, like, my other thing is, ways to fill your creative pot, right? And there goes the train in my town, y'all. Um, Basically, I've lately been doing a lot of like writing prompts, and I signed up for a 24-hour writing sprint for this weekend. And that's kind of where I've just been like, those kind of things I noticed really do help kind of spark my creativity and make me feel kind of refueled because um they're random and the challenges are fun and interesting. And so I thought I would talk about that one tonight and how I wrote lyrics to two songs in the last week. Well, really in the last month, but one in the last few days. And I was really proud of that. And so I one of them was put into a writing challenge on Vocal, on my Vocal account. And I have quite a few articles and stuff there, so I entered a challenge because they have one for writing, music or lyrics that kind of are a story. And both of these sets of lyrics were sort of like that. So I entered the one story and I was just looking through that and how many different pieces that I had written off of some of their challenges and, different writing prompts. And I noticed that I've really come up with a lot of really cool content and a lot of good ideas that I never before had even considered. Like, there's one about these four girls that are like young and they got this sort of Arabic grimoire, if you will, and they start speaking like an incantation out of it, and all these things start happening. And I never had this idea to write, even like, it's kind of like a young adult base. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Young, kind of, they're like 18 to 20. So yeah, it's definitely young adult slash almost new adult, you know what I mean? But I just, I really find a lot of joy and when I'm challenged like that, and I really do well with writing sprints. It really helps put a fire under my behind. I did want to bring something else up though that's related to our authoring careers, and I wanted to talk about that with you, because I know you just got on stage 32, and I actually just shared my screenplay with Kendra, and Kendra is an amazing writer with some great concepts and stories. So I thought we would take a moment to talk about what, kind of other things that we'd like to do. Basically, because first and foremost, we're authors, we're also activists. But if it were possible to really get things going and see, I have a full length screenplay, like she's reading it right now, and it's been remarked pretty well, but I've been working.
Excellent. Yes.
Thank you. I've been working trying to get financiers, and I'm competing in different contests right now. It's because I'm trying to get all this money. If I can win it, I can put some of it into Authors of the Resistance. I could put some of it into, my career and financing, getting my film made because that's a dream, but ultimately all of those things are to lead into um, my activism, because as I think about all of it, my wanting to be a writer and a slash author and all the things that I've done and been through in my life, it's just, if people forget the value of their creativity and that spark, life becomes super depressing especially in this climate. So maybe some people need to look into things like that. And I was really happy to see that you took the chance, an opportunity to, get on stage 32 just to put, your toes in and dip and see, because what else is there to do? I mean, we could get so caught up in the shock and awe, and it is so paralyzing at times, but then the way to break out of it is to remember, but hey, we can create the world around us. We do have ability. We're not paralyzed, and we cannot allow them to continue to try to condition us to become that way.
Right. And I've always been the person you're like, my work is my voice, right? Like one of the methods that I have available to me as a writer to speak about these injustices and rising fascism, as we're talking about today, and like just so many different things in this world that need attention. Like my book Pledge that I'm working on, it's very important to now, considering women's rights and the stuff that they're trying to do to basically talk us all into having more kids. I've got my almost 4-year-old son. I'm good, like, and it's basically like, oh, you're here to breed, and that's basically it, and that's what a lot of this is about. And I love to use this to speak on these particular issues. And my other dystopian series that I have out is about like having your life stolen from you, right, for whatever particular reason, by an all-powerful who wants to use what you have to gain more power for himself and doesn't give a shit about anybody else. So I mean, I've always used it to talk about it. And I was telling my husband, I was like, in that particular series, there is a wall around the United States blocking them off from everybody. It had been there for a long time. I told my husband, I was like, this is not, when Trump was talking about building a wall, like, this is not a guideline. Like, this book, I didn't write this series for you to like take pieces of it and use it for yourself, as like, it's not a guidebook for dictatorship. you know?
Sounds
So
really awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I've read some of Pledge too, which is really cool, you guys, honestly. But I mean, when it comes down to it, like, it's a situation where a lot really is against us, but if we do not use our voices and continue to write the things we're compelled to, they win. And I feel like, yeah, like now more than ever, ensuring, because like there was a bodacious bookstore, and is what it's called, I think, down in Florida. They were going to have an author come in and do a signing, and just this week they started taking down books that they said they went against family values, but they didn't elaborate on what that meant when the author went to
Mm-hmm.
go talk about it. And so she canceled her appearance, and basically that bookstore is an indie bookstore, which is indie bookstore day is April 26th. Ironically. But anyway, yeah, they're basically just doing that, and they didn't give her any kind of insight, and she found that out through another person and went to clarify, because she writes, erotic romances and steamier romances, and she's like, what does this mean? Like, what kind of content are you guys going to be going after? And the owner could not elaborate or clarify. So she was like, okay, so then probably I should just cancel and not go there, because you guys have this new policy. And it goes along with a lot of things that Ron DeSantis is trying to do in Florida. But the point of it is, they're already trying to restrict and censor everybody in different places in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So if we don't do it while we can, we might not be able to later. And that's the sad thing about being in a fascist America. And for a long time, I was like, a fascist America is coming, it's coming. Well, it's not coming anymore. My people, it is here. It is here. And that's really sad.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like even that, there's Meta recently argued in court that our IP doesn't have any value, which I don't know how they can actually logically assess that for
No.
that many authors
I
that they
think,
stole from.
yeah, and I think I saw what they're, I saw a part of that where it was saying like it barely adjusted anything, but like 0.06%. I said, I don't give a shit about that. Like that's not the point of it for me as someone who had 19 titles used to train their AI, right? That's not the point. The point is, this is my intellectual property. I didn't give you permission to use it for any reason. Also, you went and got it off a pirate site.
I mean, yeah, and it literally says, I believe in most books now, the copyright paragraph thing says not to be, disseminated in any means. Copy, like whether that's copy papered, copied off, or blah 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 blah, even including electronic means. It's not supposed to be. You didn't get a license for it. You don't get to just do that. And then who in the hell are they to decide and assess what value when it was over 75,000 authors, I think, that had their IP stolen and put through this stuff? You can't tell me that you
Yeah.
can accurately say all of those people's material is valueless, especially if it really is valueless. Then why did you need to use it anyway?
Exactly. If it had no value whatsoever, then why even use it? Period.
It doesn't make any sense why $1 billion company would do something like that if it has no value. What's the point? Why did you use it to program your AI? I mean, what? I mean, and
Right.
let's think about that logic. How many man hours did it take for the programmers to put in this stuff so that they could train this AI using that material that you call valueless? But it had took man hours to apply it to begin with. It doesn't add up. Like you paid those programmers to do that. So yeah, it just doesn't. But it's astonishing that that's the kind of things being argued, and it's just as astonishing as the Trump administration arguing to the Supreme Court that they can't give due process to everyone, and that on the heels of saying that they passed a bill in the Senate, I believe it was, that was going to limit federal judges' authority because of how many federal judges have been making rules that Trump doesn't like. Did you hear about that?
I've heard a little bit, but not a ton. Not a ton.
That's that's one to look into because, um, yeah, I mean, it kind of just, you know, it has me kind of speechless. It's just like, huh, okay. But anyway, it was good to talk to you tonight, and that's pretty much all I have. Do you have any final thoughts on the rise of American fascism, Kendra?
uh, it's a big groan, I think, right now. As far as any actual words to describe exactly what I'm feeling, I don't think there is one.
Yeah, it's a thing that, yeah, the shock and awe can dwarf you and can make you feel like you got to be small, and but you don't have to do that. Just find ways to kind of disconnect, go into your garden and do what you got to do. And each of us like has to find our way and how we find to cope in a healthy way when we get to feel that way. And disconnecting can sometimes be the best way to do it. And then remember that, finding ways to center yourself and find joy in just the everyday, what you can do. Like, instead of let's be exasperated over all this we can't control, let's take a breath and then look at what we can be proactive on and what we can do, because that can take up our time just as much as sitting in despair can.
Absolutely.
All right, well, I'll talk to you guys again soon, and it was great on this second session of Round the Table with the AOTR. Until next time, everybody have a great night.